Hello, I am petroonishchuk. Today is the second video of my series of videos about SwiftUI and Firebase. In this video, I want to add alert to my application. I want to add alert for display a data when I type in a wrong format for my email or password when I try to sign in or sign up in our application. And also, I want to display a data when I type in a wrong email or password when I try to log in this application. First, I want to create my MyAppModel file, and then inside the file, I want to create a structure custom alert info. And then with the structure, I will be create custom alert info object with data what we must be displayed with our alert in our application. For example, I create custom alert info structure, and then when I create custom alert info object, our object must hold title and description. Title will be hold information for title for our alert, and description for our alert. Next, I want to create string extension. With this extension will be checked is valid our email, and also with this extension we can check is valid our password. For example, and now I create a string extension. First, for check our email. Second, for check our password. First, we can check our email is valid our email. That means we can check if format of our email is correct. And also, with is valid password, we can check if our email is secure, and also length of our email must be minimum 8 characters. Next, I want to add some method in our ViewModel. This new method will be work with our email and password. That means will be check our email and password, and also will be work with our alert. For example, and now I want to explain what I add to my app ViewModel. First, I add couple property. First property is present alert. This property will be show our alert. Next property, custom alert info. This property must hold our custom alert object with data what we want to display in our alert when we show our alert. And now I want to explain what I add to my app ViewModel. First, I add couple property. First property is present alert. This property will be present alert in our application. Next property, custom alert info. This property must hold our custom alert object with data what we want to present in our alert when we show our alert. For example, when we set value to true in our isPresentAlert, that means we want to present alert with data what hold our custom alert info property. Also, I add two methods. First method, show alert with. With this method, we will display alert in our application. And also set data what we want to display in our alert when we display alert in our application. Our method takes two parameters, title and description. We're using title to assign this data to our custom alert info property .title. For description, we're using description for set this data to our custom alert info property .description equal description. We set data to this property. And on the end, when we assign data to our custom alert property, we display our alert by assign value true to our isPresent alert. That means our alert must present data what we assign to our custom alert info property. Next method, check email and password. For this method, we will check our email and password. We will check if our email is valid and also if our password is valid. First, we check our email by using our email.isValidEmail. We make this check by using our extension, what we create for string. How you can see, we use isValid property for check our email if our email have a correct format. And then if our email have a correct format, that means our isValidEmail holds value true. Next, we check our password. I create a two variant. First variant is simple variant. With first variant, we check length of our password. We use password.count, and number of characters in our password must be 6 or more. And also we have a second variant. With second variant, we check if our password is secure also, and number of characters must be 8 or more. Inside our extension, what we create to our string, we have a property. With this property, we check our password. We check our password if our password is secure, and also length of our password must be 8 or more. In this video, I used more simple variant for check our password, because with this variant we can check our password more faster. But we can also use a second variant. If you want, you can use a second variant. Next, we use a switch for check our isValidEmail and also isValidPassword. Our switch statement takes two parameters, isValidEmail and isValidPassword. Our two variables hold a boolean value. In first case, we check true and true. That means our isValidEmail and also our isValidPassword is true. That means all okay, we return true. That means we don't have an error, and that means we don't display our alert. On the second variant, we check false. That means isValidEmail and isValidPassword is false. That means our email is invalid and our password also invalid. If we have false, that means we try to show our alert by using our method showAlert title. For title, we put this data, email and password are invalid. For description, we put email invalid and password less than 6 characters. Our showAlert method, what we created previously, using this method, title and description. Second case is our false, and we don't check parameters for our password. In this case, we only check parameters for our email. We check if our email is invalid. If our email is invalid, we show alert with data. Email is invalid. And then for description, we use data incorrect email format. That means format of our email is not correct and return false. And on the last case, we don't check our email because we already check our email. We check our password. And if our isValid password is false, we show our alert with data. Password is invalid. And we display an error, your password less than 6 characters. Make password more long and return false. And now I show you where I using this method. I using method for check our email and password when I try sign up and also when I try sign in our application. Let's try with sign up. First, in our sign up method, we check our email and password. Because before we run our Firebase authentication, we must check if our email have a correct format and also if our password have more than 6 characters. We check our email and password, and then when we have error with email and password, we display this error in our application by using alert, because this method will be displayed alert in our application. This method. Next, we try to run our Firebase authentication. After we run our Firebase authentication method have a closer, and we have result and error. we check our error. If our error is not nil, that means we have an error. And we try to show this error in our alert. How you can see, I use it show alert with title, and also for description is an error, and try to display error what we have from our Firebase Authentication method. And on the end we have return. And also I print an error when we check our result user.email. If we don't display our result user.email, that means we have an error, and I try to show this error also using this method. Show alert with data for title and also data for description. Next method, sign in. In sign in, we also use our check email and password method. In our sign in method, first we check our email and password. Because we use it method from our Firebase Authentication, we must check our email, format of our email, and also we must check our password. If we have an error with email and password, we print this error with our alert and return from this method. This means we don't move to our Firebase Authentication method. If we don't have an error, we move to the next step. On the next step, we try to sign in with our email and password. And our method from Firebase Authentication, authentication.signin, have a closer. This closer have two parameters, result and error. First, we check an error. Having previously example, if our error is nil, that means all okay. If our error is not nil, that means we have an error. We display this error by using our show alert with title and display an error what we take when we run our Firebase Authentication.signin. And after we display our alert with error, we return. We don't move on the next step because we have an error with sign in our Firebase application. Next, if we don't have an error, we move to the next step. On the next step, we check our result.user.email. If we have an error, we also display a data error with result.user, and also for description we put this data for our alert, and we return. That means we don't move to the next step. If we don't have an error, we move to the next step. We print we sign in with email, and on the end I use our is user sign in for check if our user sign in and back to the root screen. That means we sign in, and when we back to our root screen, we must display data of our user was in our application. Data about this user we will take from Firebase Authentication and also Firebase Firestore. But Firebase Firestore I add to the next video. Okay, I try to explain what I changed in my MyAppModel. I add a couple property, a do property, and also I add a do method, and I change sign in method for display alert when we have an error, and also I change sign in method also for display alert when we have an error when we run our method. Next, I want to add alert to RootContentView. And now I try to fast explain what I add in second part of my video. First, we add our model for create our custom alert info object. Also, I add extension, string extension for check is valid our email and also for is valid our password. And also, most change we add to our ViewModel. But I do property. First property for show our alert. Second property for hold data what we want to display with our alert. Then we add a two method. First method show alert with. This method will be show alert in our application. I can see this method takes two parameters, title and description. Inside this method we assign data to our property custom alert info for title and description. And then we set our is present alert to true. This means we want to display alert in our application with this data what we assign to our custom alert info property. And also I add method check email and password. With this method we check if our email and password is valid. And then after we check if our email and password is valid, we use a switch statement with the switch statement for the site. If we must display our alert. If our email and password is valid, this means we return true and we don't show our alert. But if our email and password is not valid, we show our alert. Depend what is valid, what is not valid. How you can see, depend on case, we show our alert with information what we want to display in our alert. And also I make some change in our sign up and sign in method. In sign up method, I add before we run our authentication, create user by using our Firebase authentication. We check our email and password, and also when we have an error, when we try to create a new user, we show our alert with data what we take from our authentication.create user method. And in this case, we also display our alert when we have an error. In sign-in method, we do the same thing. First, we check our email and password, then we run our Firebase authentication. If we have an error, when we run our Firebase authentication sign-in method from Firebase authentication, we take this error and show this error by using our method showAlert with data what we take from our method. In this case, we also hold our error and display in our alert when we have this error. And if all successful, we print we sign in with email and back to our root screen. And on the last, I add alert to RootContentView. We add our alert. For title, I use MyAppModel.CustomAlertInfo.title. For description, I use MyAppModel.CustomAlertInfo.description. For present our alert, we use our property from our ViewModel is present alert. This property holds Boolean value. And now I try to run a simulator and show you how look our alert. I run a simulator, and how you can see, this is our main login view. We have our main login view because we don't sign in our application yet. Now I try to sign in our application. I type in an email and also password, and now I try to sign in to our application by using our Firebase authentication. Our Firebase project I created previously in first video. Our To-Do App 01 Firebase project I created previously in first video. And also in first video I add to this project our Firebase authentication and also create our user with this email. And now when I try to sign in to our application by using Firebase authentication, all must be successful because we have our user and also we put our email and password in this field. And now I try to sign in. How you can see, we successfully sign in our application and don't show any alert because we don't have an error when we sign in our application. And now try to sign out and then sign in with different email and password. And now you can see I changed format of our email. And now format of our email is not correct. And now I try to sign in and we must display our alert. Now you can see we have our alert. Email is invalid. Incorrect email format. That means our alert worked successfully because we changed our email and we have our alert. Tap OK. Now you can see nothing changes because we not return to our RootContentView and don't sign in our application because we typed in a wrong email. And now I try to sign in with short password. I can see we also have alert with value password is invalid. Your password less than 6 characters. Make password more long. That means our alert works correctly because our password is too short. And if we have a short password and not correct email, for example, and try to sign in, we have our email and password are invalid because our email have not correct format and also our password is too short. We have this case. False. In first example, we have case false because we have email invalid. And second variant, we have a case where our password is too short. If you type a right information, we have successful sign in our application. If we try to create our user and also type in a wrong email and a short password, we will have the same alert what we display in our application. And also, for example, when we try to sign in with right email but wrong password, in this variant sign in, we try to sign in with right email but wrong password, we will take this error because we can't sign in by using right email and wrong password, and we must display this alert with error what we have by using our Firebase authentication. For example, I put a right email but wrong password and try to sign in, and now you can see we have an error with sign in. Password is invalid. That means we put not correct password. Our password is wrong. It's long, it's more than 6 characters, but it's wrong because we have another password for user with this email. We display our alert by using this case. We take this error and display this error by using showAlert method. And also, when we try to create a new user and type in a broad format of our email, we have our alert with value email is invalid, incorrect email format, because our email is not correct format. This was a second video from my series of videos about SwiftUI and Firebase, where I want to create a to-do app. This was a short video. In this video, I add alert and try to display alert with information by using our SwiftUI and Firebase application. Next is short video. In short video, I want to add our Firestore and then work with Firebase and Firestore in our Firebase application and SwiftUI application. How I said previously, I want to create this app through couple parts. Start project for first part of this application is an empty project. Start project for second part of this application is completed project from my first part. Start project for third part of my application will be completed project from my second part of my application. And next part of my project the same. My next part of my project is completed project from my previously part. Second part related to first part, third part related to second part, fourth part related to third part, or how many part of project I want to have. And this time I can say correctly how part of project I will be have. I think 7 or 8. Through couple videos I want to say more correctly how many projects I will have. All part of my project you can find in my Git repository. Link to my Git repository I put below in description. This is the end. Thank you for watching.